Hello and welcome to another Space Engineers video. Ever since planets were released, I've wondered if it would be possible to orbit them. Obviously, this game is not built around realistic physics. For example, thrusters don't produce any torque, ships can propel themselves with artificial gravity. Also, artificial gravity generators just exist in general. But what we're concerned about is natural gravity, or what it calls planet gravity. So let's look at the way that gravity is modeled for planets in Space Engineers. There's a sphere around the planet with 1 g of gravitational acceleration. This is probably approximated to about 10 meters per second. Once you reach an altitude of about 5,000 meters, the gravity just starts to drop off, reaching 0 g at about 35,000 meters. So we have a force that always pulls to the center of the planet, and of course we have conservation of momentum. I did have to use a mod to remove the speed limit in the game, but theoretically an orbit should be possible under these conditions. But of course we won't know until we test it for real. There were many failed attempts when I would either hit the ground or shoot off into space, but here's my best result. I would say that I made it about 7/8 of a full orbit before I escaped the planet's gravity. And it seems odd that I would make it so far and then suddenly escape, so let me explain what's going on. The speed required to achieve orbit was actually pretty easy to figure out. It's about 790 meters per second. The hard part is the angle. Space Engineers has very little to help you navigate in space. The map screen in KSP is a great way to visualize your orbit and make sure it's stable. But Space Engineers doesn't have any map. But you can still reach orbit in KSP without using the map. You can use the HUD. Unfortunately, there is no navball either, so you don't know where you're pointing. Similarly, there's no prograde marker, so you don't know if you're moving exactly horizontal to the surface. The only thing to indicate what horizontal is this line, which is still a little unclear. Is this horizontal? Or this? Or is it between the two? It makes no sense. With such a small area of consistent gravity around these planets, you really need to know exactly what direction you're moving. Too high and you'll shoot off into space, too low and you might hit the ground, or, like in my attempt, you could create an elliptical orbit and then shoot off on the other side of the planet. There's no margin for error, but there's also no way to know if you've made an error until it's too late. So based on my test, it seems like it would be possible to get in orbit, because I've made it so far around the planet. It's just incredibly hard, and this is good enough for me. If you want to go and try to do an orbit yourself, that's fine with me. Just know that it's going to take a lot of trial and error, and you're going to have to be really lucky to get a stable orbit. Anyway, I'm Conhathy. Bye.